about spraying your apple trees. These are the chemicals I use. These are the documents that I use. This is the equipment that I use. Let's talk about it. First of all, let me say, anything you spray, you need to follow the manufacturer's instructions on spraying that chemical. It's basically law that you have to follow those instructions. None of my chemicals here require a sprayer's license. These are all things that any backyard grower can attain and spray on their trees. But I'm going to tell you that you don't want them on you. You don't want these chemicals floating in the air. You don't want these chemicals anywhere the kids could be playing. I keep them out in the orchard. If it's trees in your backyard, well, there are re-entry intervals to be able to go back into the orchard after you spray the chemical. Usually those are 24 to 48 hours. But again, you'll have to follow the manufacturer's guidelines. Safety first. When I spray in the summertime, I've got long pants, long shirt, a wide-brimmed hat. I've got latex gloves. The only part of my skin that is exposed is my face and the back of my neck. Everything else is covered. And of course, I do everything possible not to get any of that spray drift on me. The document that I find indispensable when it comes to spraying apple trees is the Midwest Fruit Tree Spray Guide. You can get it online, just Google it, and it will come up. I believe Purdue University puts this together. I find it absolutely indispensable. What this guide does is it goes through every stage of apple tree growth from really dormant season, say March, all the way through to September harvest. It goes over the insects that you may find at different times of the year, how to control them. It goes over the fungal issues that you'll have at different times of the year, how to control it. And the only issue that I have is that it's made for the big orchard grower, and so you've got to do some math on rates per acre. We've talked about Rally 40. Well, 5 to 10 ounces per acre. How in the world are we going to put that on the tree in the backyard correctly? Well, there's hope, because there's another document that I've found really helpful. And that's this from the University of Kentucky College of Agriculture. And I did find this by Googling, but it's dry pesticide rates for handheld sprayers. This will have herbicides, fungicides, insecticides, the whole gamut. And what this document does is it first gives you the weight per teaspoon of the chemical that you're using. So in a teaspoon of that chemical, how much weight is there? But then it goes further. It will take a fungicide such as Captan, and it will tell you that at a rate of 3 pounds per acre, which this guide may tell you to spray at 3 pounds per acre. This will say at 3 pounds per acre, that is the equivalent of 3.75 teaspoons per gallon. Voila! You've got 3.75 teaspoons in your 1 gallon sprayer, and now you're doing exactly the same ratio that a big orchard would do. And it goes on down the line. Not everything you might spray is on here. Most of my stuff is. Rally 40, 3 ounce rate per acre. What? How are we going to put that on 2 trees, right? Well, over here, teaspoons per gallon, 0.2, 0.4 into your 1 gallon sprayer to have the correct amount of spray. So I have found this to be really handy, and if you go back just a couple more pages, they even go all the way to tell you, okay, Captan 50 at a rate of 4 pounds per acre. would be 8.5 tablespoons in a 5-gallon sprayer, or 15 teaspoons in a 3-gallon sprayer, or 5 teaspoons in a 1-gallon sprayer. That would be at a max rate, and they've got different rates that you might spray that fungicide. So look these two things up first, and they'll be really helpful in telling you just how much of that chemical you need to spray on your trees. Now let's take a look at what's behind me. Okay, always wear hand protection when you're dispensing your chemicals. I don't have any on today, just handling the outside of the bags, and I probably should. But this is Captan. This is Captan 80, so it's a little stronger than the Captan 50 that we just talked about. But Captan 80 is a fungicide that primarily is going to control scab. It helps with some other fungal issues throughout the summer, but it's primarily a scab control. And Captan will go on from the time you first start seeing green on the trees in the early spring through most of the summer. It's really a workhorse in the orchard. Along with Captan, I spray Manzate. I started Manzate a couple of years ago after a terrible bitter rot problem. A lot of my apples had bitter rot. They were beautiful apples until August, and then big circles of brown showed up on them. Well, Manzate really helps with that. A couple things about Manzate. Manzate has a long pre-harvest interval. It is May the 30th today, and I'm done spraying Manzate for the year. I won't spray past May 30th. And I'm not gonna tell you the pre-harvest interval. I can't quite remember, but it's long. So for me, June 1st is the cutoff for Manzate. But it did help really control bitter rot, and it works for scab as well. Okay, another fungicide. Topsin M. Just started this a couple of years ago. Topsin M, I spray this for sooty blotch and fly speck. That's the black on the outside of the apple during harvest. That may not bother you. It's completely harmless. You can actually scrub off most of it. But if you want to keep it off of your apples, Topsin M does the job. Fairly inexpensive fungicide as well. So naturally, this would start when the fruit starts to grow. I've started already with Topsin M, and it's going to need to go until just before harvest. Rally 40. Remember talking about cedar apple rust here lately? This is cedar apple rust control, and Rally 40 does the job. If you have cedar trees and an apple tree that is susceptible to cedar apple rust, spray Rally 40. It's fairly inexpensive. It goes on at really low rates, so you don't use much of it. Very effective. And good news is Rally 40 for me is pretty much done for the year. I doubt I'll spray any more Rally 40. The cedar apple rust control is only really needed through the third cover or so, and I believe I'm beyond that at this point. So no more Rally 40 at all for me this year. Its time has come and gone. Okay, I just got finished editing about 10 minutes of video on spraying and realized I'd only gotten through the fungicides to that point and some of the documentation I used. So I'm going to come right back with part 2. I'll upload it as soon as I get part 1 uploaded, and we can go through some of the insecticides that I used, a lot of the organic sprays that I used, or things that at least were organic just a couple of years ago, and some fire blight control that I use. And then we're going to be done with chemicals. We'll get off that chemical subject. By no means do you have to spray on any type of a 1 and 2 week schedule after every rain. You know what you want to tolerate in your orchard. You know what at time of harvest you're willing to have on your apples, and they do not need to be pristine apples. My attempt here is to try to get you to a pristine apple so that you can work back from that point and get what works for you. So thanks for watching, and stay tuned for part 2 next.